Hey folks, welcome back to our channel, and this is the day 2 of our complete Ansible Essential course. And today we're gonna cover these topics. First of all, we're gonna configure our Ansible clients, in which uh, we are going to create some static DNS entries so that we can remember the clients by the name, not by the IP address. After that, we'll generate SSH keys on our workstation system, and then we're gonna copy it to all our 3 clients so that we can log into the remote systems, or say all the 3 client system without requiring any kind of credentials. After that, we'll add the standard users to the Sudos file so that they can perform system specific tasks. In this video, we'll also talk about Ansible Inventory. We'll talk about some Ansible Inventory options like groups and ranges, and there are many options for individual hosts also. Like, so say some of your clients may have different SSH ports, or it may be possible that they have some different usernames also. So how you gonna change these things? So there are many options for individual host also that you can actually define in inventory host file. We're gonna also see some ad hoc commands, and we're gonna execute some ad hoc commands. We will be also discussing how to become root while executing remote commands. Then we will talk about modules. We'll talk about some modules which helps us in installing packages and altering our services, like starting or stopping our services. Then we'll also discuss some file system modules like copy and file. And last but not the least, we're gonna lab it all. So stay tuned and let's start. So first, we're gonna cover our Ansible client configuration. So let's start. Our first point is create names. So you might remember the logical diagram of our lab setup. So here I'm gonna show you again. So this is our workstation on which we will be generating our SSH keys, and then we will transfer the SSH keys to all our 3 clients. So our first task is to create static DNS entries in the host file. So you can see these IP. The Ubuntu desktop is .10, the CentOS is .20, and the Ubuntu server is .30. So let's configure it on our workstation. So our first task is to create static DNS names. So let's configure that. First, we'll ping our all clients. Our first Ubuntu GUI client is 116.10. Yeah, so that's up. Second is CentOS, that is .20. That is up also. And third, we'll ping our Ubuntu server. That is also up. So let's create static DNS entries in host file so that we can SSH our clients by their names. Sudo nano /etc/hosts. I'm gonna put my credentials, and here we can create a static DNS mapping for our client machines. So our first client machine is Ubuntu GUI, or say Ubuntu desktop. Our second machine is CentOS. So we're gonna put the name here, CentOS 8. And last server is Ubuntu server. So here I'm gonna put the name Ubuntu server. So let's verify that we are able to ping all our client machines by their names. So ping Ubuntu desktop. Yeah, so we are able to ping our first client machine, which is Ubuntu desktop. Second one was CentOS 8. That's working. The third one is Ubuntu server. So we have done the static DNS mappings for our client machine, and after that our second task was to generate SSH keys and then copy all the SSH keys to our client machine so that we can log in on all three clients without putting credentials. So let's generate SSH keys first. Let's generate SSH keys. So I'm gonna type SSH hyphen keygen. So I'm going to use the default location for saving the keys. Here I'm not gonna use any passphrase for the keys. That you can do it for the security purposes, but then you have to use a SSH agent, which I'm not going to do here. So I'm just going to hit enter. I'm not going to put any passphrase. So again I'm gonna hit enter. Keys has been generated, and these are the locations where our keys has been saved. So let's list the directory of SSH, and these are the two keys which are generated by this command. One is public key and the first one is the private key. So never share the private key with anybody. So what we gonna do is we gonna copy the public key on the client machines so that we can log in into the systems without putting any credentials. So I'm going to copy the SSH keys to our Ubuntu server. So here is the command SSH copy ID and then -i to specify the location of the public key, and then the username of the remote server and the host name of the remote server. So I'm gonna press enter. Yeah, so type yes. So while installing the SSH keys to the remote machine, it will prompt for the password. So for the first time you have to enter the credential for the remote systems. So I'm gonna put the credential. So here you can see the number of keys added is 1. So we have successfully added a SSH key to our Ubuntu server machine. Let's try to SSH that machine. SSH Ubuntu server. So now you can see that I am on Ubuntu server machine. It hasn't prompted for any username and the password. So let's do it for all our remaining 2 clients. So while copying the SSH key on our Ubuntu desktop machine, an error occurs. Actually, on Ubuntu desktop machine, there is no user called Ansible. So the username on the Ubuntu desktop is Ansible1. So we have to change that. So now it is correct, Ansible1 at Ubuntu desktop. But I'm still here, I'm getting, but still while copying the SSH keys to our Ubuntu desktop machine, it throws an error that the SSH is not working on port number 22. Actually, SSH is not working on our Ubuntu desktop machine. So first we'll fix that. To resolve this issue, actually the Open SSH server is not installed on this client machine. So we have to install Open SSH first, and then we'll copy the SSH keys to this machine. So type sudo apt install Open SSH server. Put your credentials. So Open SSH installation has been completed. Now let's try to copy the SSH keys now. So let's try if it works now. Yeah, so it's working now. We can copy the SSH keys to that system also. So let's confirm if it is working or not. Yeah, so we logged in on the Ubuntu desktop machine also, and you can see it here. We have logged in with the username Ansible1. So we have successfully copied the RSA keys to all our client machines, and now we are able to log into our client machines without entering any credentials on it. So now we'll move on our next task, which is adding standard user to the Sudos files so that we can perform system specific tasks using those usernames. So first I'm going to log in on our one of the client machine. So now I'm on Ubuntu desktop where the username is Ansible1, and let's try some command like sudo ls. Here you can see it is prompting for the password. So when we will execute the commands from the remote system, then this may cause issues. So what we have to do is we're gonna add our users to the sudos file. So after that, this will not gonna happen. So let's try on this system. So to add a user in sudos file, you have to type the command is vi sudo. Yeah, so you have to use sudo for that and put your credentials. So in the sudo file, you have to add your standard user. In this case, it is Ansible 1, and then type all equals all, no password colon all. So now let's verify if it works or not. So now type sudo ls. Yeah, so it's working. Now it's not prompting for the password because we have added the Ansible 1 user in the sudos file. So let's do this all for all three clients. So now we have completed all of our three tasks, which was adding DNS entries to our for our Ansible clients, and the second one was to copy SSH keys to our client, that we have done, and the last one was to escalate the privilege of the standard user, which we have achieved by adding the standard user in the sudos file. So now let's move on to Ansible Inventory. So in Ansible Inventory, we're going to talk about the functions like group, ranges, and some specific options related to particular hosts. So let's start with the groups. So the default location of the Ansible inventory is in etc Ansible and then host file. So let's alter it. I'm gonna type sudo nano /etc slash Ansible slash hosts. So type the password for your account. So this is the default Ansible hosts file, and you have to enter your client machines in the host file so that the Ansible can perform any operations on these client machines. So here you can directly enter the IP addresses of the client machine, or say the DNS names of the host machine, like we have created, like Ubuntu desktop, CentOS 8. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna enter our client machines here. So first one was Ubuntu desktop, second one was CentOS 8, and the third one was Ubuntu server. So this gonna work in this way also, but there are some options, like we can create groups. So here I will show you an example of that. Like we are creating a Debian group. Under Debian we can put Ubuntu desktop and Ubuntu server. We can also create another group which we're gonna name Red Hat, and under Red Hat we can enter CentOS 8. So for the time being I'm gonna comment it out. You can create groups like that. You may create a group like web servers, or you may create a group like file servers. So you can perform a specific task to that groups, and you can add your client machines in that group in this way. Also you can use ranges, like let's say you have a lab, and in which you have clients like lab 1, lab 2, lab 3. So rather clients like, say, lab 1, lab 2, lab 3, you can add the clients in this way also, but you can use range, like we can use like that. So it will tell the Ansible that there are 3 client machines, which are lab 1, lab 2, and lab 3. You may also put the IP addresses like 192.168.1.10 to 100. So Ansible will treat these IPs like 192.168.1.10.11.12 till 100. So rather writing them one by one, we can use ranges. So you might remember that in Ubuntu desktop, we don't have a user named Ansible. We have a user named Ansible1. So how Ansible gonna use that? So actually you can specify that username in the inventory host file. Like here for Ubuntu desktop, we have Ansible user is equal to Ansible 1. So now while connecting to the client machines, Ansible will use Ansible 1 as a username for the Ubuntu desktop. So you may specify various options in the inventory host file. You can always refer to the Ansible docs for different modules, or say different options, like so here we have used Ansible user, the default SSH username to use. That will tell Ansible that that is the default SSH username to use to connect to that client. You can always use Ansible port number. If one of your client is running the SSH on different port, you can specify that too in the inventory host file. You may also use Ansible host to give a different name to the particular host. So you should always refer the Ansible document. You may visit the website docs.ansible.com. Here you can find a ton of options. You should always refer to this website. So I think here we made some mistake in our inventory host file. Yeah, so don't put spaces between them. I'm gonna delete it and then save it once again. So now still we are getting the errors. So what we can do is, let's go to ls etc ansible, and now edit the ansible dot cfg file. Just use sudo to edit, just use sudo to edit this file. And now there are some default settings. So yes, uncomment this line, host key checking is equal to false, and then try to run the command once again. I'm gonna clear the screen once again, and now run the command. So we are going to use our first Ansible ad hoc command. So command is Ansible -m is for module, and we are going to use the ping module this time, and for the target we're gonna specify all. So all the client mentioned in the inventory file, the Ansible server gonna ping it all. So let's try. So as you can see, we have successfully pinged all our 3 clients. So here we have connected to Ubuntu desktop, and we have a success on that. The ping and the pong actually states that the machines are reachable. Here it connected to Ubuntu server. For that also we got a success, and here we tried to connect on CentOS 8, and here also we have a success on this. So now let's use another ad hoc command. By the way, this module, the ping module, needs Python to be installed. So on the client machines, the Python must have installed so that we can use the modules like ping. So if the client have no Python installed, then we can use raw modules that I gonna show you. Here put the command ansible -m, and instead of ping we're gonna use raw. So raw is a module which actually to send raw commands to their client machines over SSH. -m raw, and then we're gonna pass the arguments here, user bin uptime, and then all. So here you can see the uptime of our lab machines. So our CentOS machine is up from last 1 hour 52 minutes, and our Ubuntu desktop is up from last 56 minutes, whereas Ubuntu server is up and running from last 2 hours. So by using raw commands, you can send the remote commands to the client machines on which Pythons are not installed. If you have any machine that haven't Python installed on it, you may use the raw module. So while using a raw module, we have to specify the full path of the command. Like here we are using uptime, and we have to specify the full path of that command. So for that problem, we can use a shell module. So let's say Ansible -m and then shell. After that, let's say we want to know the Python versions which are installed on our Ansible clients. So I'm gonna pass the arguments as Python 3-v, and I wanna check it on all of my Ansible clients. So fair enough, Ansible returned the output. So on the Ubuntu desktop, we have Python version 3.8.5. On CentOS, it is 3.6.8. And on Ubuntu server, it's 3.8.5. So don't worry too much if I'm losing you here, because I will explain all of this. So stay tuned. And also, you can execute the Ansible command on a single group. I wanna check all my Debian clients, so put Debian here. So see here, the output here is for Ubuntu desktop and Ubuntu server only. So in our hosts file, we have mentioned a group named Ubuntu, which consists of two of our clients, Ubuntu server and Ubuntu desktop. So we got the output for these two only. So let's see. Now I want the output for CentOS machine. So we have to specify Red Hat group. Yeah, so the output is only for the CentOS 8, which is in Red Hat group. So you can execute the Ansible command based on the groups also. If you put all here, it will verify all your client machines in all groups. So see here we have got the output for Ubuntu desktop, CentOS 8 and Ubuntu server. All three clients, we have got the output for all those. But when we specify some group like Debian in this case, then we're gonna have the output for those two machines only which are in Debian group. So that is all about Ansible inventory. And now we're gonna really start the ad hoc commands, where I will explain all the switches of the Ansible commands. So let's start. We will be running some commands. At the same time, we'll see how we can install or remove the packages from our client machines, and also how to obtain a root access on the remote systems. So let's start. So our first command which we're gonna use is just type Ansible and then put all to execute the command for all the clients which are mentioned in the inventory host file, -a as an argument, and here we are giving the argument as a uptime. So Ansible has returned the output for all the three machines. So our Ubuntu desktop is running from last 1 hour 35 minutes. Ubuntu server is running for 2 hours 31 minutes. So here you can see that by using a single command, it fetched all the details from all the three Ansible clients. Now let's check whoami command. Here you can see Ubuntu server. On Ubuntu server, the user is Ansible. On Ubuntu desktop, it's Ansible 1, and on CentOS 8, it's Ansible. So how to execute the command with the root privileges? Here we can use a switch called -b to become root user. So let's check now. Here you can see in the output that all the systems are logged in as root user. So using -b switch actually escalate privileges for the default users. So while performing the system oriented task, we should use -b command to become a root user. So let's check another command. I'm gonna check the directory of the connected users. So here you can see on Ubuntu desktop, These are the folders, whereas on Ubuntu server there are no folders because this is Ubuntu server CLI based. In this machine there are no predefined folders, whereas in CentOS 8 we do have desktop, documents, downloads, these default folders. So now let's talk about modules. So modules are nothing but a set of tools which are used for different tasks. Like I want to give you example of MS Office. In MS Office you do have a Word document, an Excel file, a PPT file, a Outlook application. All are used for different purposes. Like for mails you're gonna use Outlook, for presentations you're gonna use PPT, some writing purpose you may use Microsoft Word. So here in Ansible there are many modules which are used in different tasks. So there are hundreds of modules out there. You should check it on docs.ansible.com. So here I'm gonna show you some of the modules which I will be using. So let's check it. So you should always visit to docs.ansible.com. Here many modules are listed, but we're gonna refer only the modules which I will be using here. So first let's check packaging modules. Here you can see there is a apt module which manages apt packages, and you may also see a yum module, manage packages with the yum package manager. So here are many modules are listed here. You may visit the website and can find the modules you are looking for. So now let's talk about privilege escalation. So how we escalate the privilege for the standard users. So here I'm gonna use a command Ansible -m is for module. We're gonna use command module. So here I am using a module command, but if I didn't write it, that wouldn't have affected the result, because by default it is going to use the command module only. -a as an argument, and I'm gonna say reboot, and for all our client machines. So here you can see the error, permission denied, because we cannot run the reboot command over an standard user. So how we gonna escalate the privilege for the standard user? So it's very simple. You have to use a switch which is -b, which means to become a root user. So now what I gonna do is, here I'm using a -b switch which will escalate the privilege for all the standard user to become root and execute this command. So I don't want to reboot all my systems. So rather than reboot, I will type shutdown -r, then I'm gonna press enter. So here you can see the shutdown is scheduled. So first of all I'm gonna cancel it, then I'm going to explain it. So I have successfully cancelled the command within the time, so my client machine has not rebooted. So here I have used -b switch to become a root user, then I have executed a shutdown -r command, and then I have cancelled it using shutdown -c. So here I have shown you what -b switch is used for. It is used to escalate privilege to the standard user. So like if you are doing some system specific tasks, then you would need -b switch. Like when installing packages or removing packages, you will need -b switch. So now let's see how we can install or remove the packages using Ansible. So I'm gonna install htop. So let's verify that htop is not installed on our client machines. So here type htop. Yeah, so htop is not installed on Ubuntu desktop. Now check it on Ubuntu server. Here also htop is not installed. So let's install a package using Ansible. The command is Ansible So as we are going to install something on our system, so we do need the root privileges. Here I am going to use the -b switch, and then I am going to use a module which is apt. So here I am going to use apt module, and then I will pass the argument as name is equal to htop. Here you have to mention the name of the package you wanna install or remove, and in the state we're gonna put present. So what this command is going to do is, first it will acquire a root privilege because we are using -b switch here. It is using a apt module, which is a package manager in Debian based distros, and in the argument we have passed the name of the package and the state, whether it is present or absent. If you have given the state as present, it means it gonna install it, and if you have mentioned here as absent, then it would have uninstalled the package. So let's try to install it on all of our Ansible clients. Yeah, so on CentOS, command has been failed because we are using an apt module. So on Ubuntu desktop, it has also failed. That we will look into. But on Ubuntu server, the status is changed, and here you can see the package has been installed. So let's go and verify on Ubuntu server. Yeah, so htop has been installed on Ubuntu server using Ansible. So let's see why it failed on Ubuntu desktop. Let's run the command once again. So here you can see on CentOS 8, it has failed because we are using a apt module, and the apt module is not supported by CentOS. Actually on CentOS we use YAML module. So that's the obvious reason that on CentOS 8 it's failing. Here you can see on Ubuntu server it has a success, but here you can see the changed state is false, means the package has already been installed on the remote system, so the change status is false. Whereas in Ubuntu desktop, so let's try once again. So here you can see on Ubuntu desktop we have successfully installed the htop package. So let's verify once again. Yeah, so you can see on Ubuntu server we have successfully installed the htop package, and the change the state is false, means Ansible has already installed the package on this remote system. Also on Ubuntu desktop we have successfully installed. So now how to remove the packages from the Ansible clients? So you have to only change the state as absent. Now this will remove the package htop from all of our Ansible clients. So now the Ansible has removed the htop package from all of our Ansible clients. So let's verify once again on Ubuntu system, Ubuntu server. Prior to this, the htop was installed, and now the htop has been removed. So in this way you can install or remove any packages using Ansible. Now let's see how we can start or stop a service using Ansible. Yeah, so for that I'm going to install Apache on our client machines. So So Ansible -b -m, and then we are going to use the apt module, and I am going to pass the arguments as name is equal to Apache 2 and the state is present, and I want to do it on all of our Ansible client machines. So on CentOS it will fail due to obvious reasons because we are using apt module, and CentOS 8 doesn't support apt module, it supports YAML module. So it's gonna fail on CentOS 8. Let's wait and watch for other two systems. So here Apache 2 has been installed on our Debian based servers. So let's verify this again by running this command once again. So here you can see on Ubuntu desktop we got success on that, and the state is false. It means the package was already installed on both of our Ubuntu machines. So let's install Apache for CentOS 2. So what we have to change is, rather using all, we're gonna use only Red Hat group, in which we have CentOS 8 machine, and also we're gonna use YAML module. And in YAML module, Apache 2 is not termed as Apache 2 package, whereas it is named as HTTPD. So let's install Apache on CentOS 8 using YAML module. So here you can see on CentOS 8 the HTTPD package has been installed, which is nothing but Apache 2. So using a YAML module we can install packages on CentOS 8 too. So by using ad hoc commands, these are some drawbacks of using ad hoc commands, like you have to manually mention whether to use YAML module or to use apt module. So by using playbooks we can resolve these kind of issues. In further coming lectures I will be explaining you about playbooks. So now let's have a look on the services module. Using services module you can enable the service on boot, or you may start or stop a service. So let's get into that. So here I'm gonna use Ansible -b for becoming a root user, and -m for the module, and here we're gonna use the service module. And now pass the argument is name is equal to Apache 2, and the state is, sorry, not state, the enabled is equal to true, and that we're gonna execute on our Ubuntu desktop only. So here also I could have specified a group name, say Debian, or say Debian, or I may also use the all command, which will impact on all of our Ansible clients. So here I am going to use only Ubuntu desktop machine, and what this command is going to do is, first of all, it is using a module called service, and it's going to enable the service of Apache 2 on boot time. So just execute it. So now Apache 2 service has been added in startup services. So every time the server or say client will start, it will start the Apache 2 service as well. So next we'll talk about ad hoc file systems and playbooks. I wanted to cover the ad hoc file system management in this lecture only, but I think it's already overwhelming. I'm gonna stop this lecture here, and in next lecture we'll first look at ad hoc file management, and after that we'll start learning about playbooks. I hope this has been informative for you, and I would like to thank you for viewing. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and please do consider subscribing our channel. We will meet in next video, so stay tuned.